Hello and welcome to Walsall United WFC.
Boo! Oh, sorry, I've been doing that since Wednesday. It's kind of happened around about now. I should have sort of mentioned that, but I think we'll get onto that in a bit later. It's kind of the thing we do as United fans. You just sort of get the feeling, and you can't stop yourself. Right, welcome to All for United for the Fans Forum with me, clearly not John Foster, MUSC. Obviously, and Dio here while John's working or doing something that he's doing. How's everyone doing? How you doing, Connor?
Yeah, not bad. It's good to actually see a win in a stadium. I was looking at it the other day. I haven't seen a win in a ground for about a month and a half. So it's been a long time coming.
So you're the problem. We'll sort it out for That's great. Vix?
I'm good, thanks, Andy. Good to be back again.
Good.
A win.
Should be good. Yeah, definitely. I think it was much needed. Should be an interesting show tonight. Maisie, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Andy. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Just thought I'd, wake everyone up when we first started with the little ode to my city friends across the city. Namrata, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm good. Glad to be back.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. And Chloe?
Hi, Andy. Yeah, it's good to be back after a win.
Yeah, definitely. And hello to everyone in the comments. It should be an interesting one tonight. So obviously, it's funny. You sometimes in the women's game, you wait 4 weeks for anything to happen, and then you end up with 3 games in 1 week. And obviously, we've got Everton that went on Sunday. A lot of us went there, and obviously the big win that happened on Wednesday night that we're going to get into, and the interesting things that happened overnight on Twitter based on that. And obviously probably looking ahead towards Arsenal as well. But yeah, we'll probably start with Everton. Always great to go to the park in Liverpool. I think it was one of those games where, again, it was quite frustrating because, it was another game that we shouldn't have ended up with a draw. We had a lot more fight in us as well. What's your thoughts on the Everton game, Connor?
Yeah, it was a game of 2 halves, wasn't it? Did all right in the first and sat off in the second and invited pressure, which is not. I mean, let's get it real. It probably was a foul on Mary. So, but as we were looking ahead of City, that was probably a foul as well. So evens it out, doesn't it? But I mean, you'd expect you to keep to come for that. And I think Mary's reaction, from what I've heard from you guys after the game, I think she knew that she'd made an error. So, and she's been brilliant all season anyway. So one mistake, But the issue, I think, was it's another, at that time, that was 4 in a row where we couldn't see out a win. And that's what was frustrating. I think you look at City, Durham, Spurs, and Everton, 4 games where we're ahead. Even if you take, I think Skinner said it in his interview today, you take Spurs and Everton, 2 late goals, 4 extra points, and the league looks completely different, doesn't it? And unfortunately, 2 lapses of concentration cost us. But I mean, as we'll talk about with City, made some changes for the better, which seemed to have worked. But yeah, Everton was just a game of 2 halves. And in football at a high level like that, you can't afford just to sit off and defend 1-0 leads anymore. You used to be able to do that, 15, 20 years ago. You can't do that anymore with teams like, we are a better team in Everton, but they still have quality. You can't just bank on sitting on 60 minutes of a 1-goal lead. You can't do that. So it was frustrating. I was obviously watching on TV. I wasn't actually there, but it was frustrating, because it was if that was in isolation, I don't think it would have been so bad. I think it was because it was off the back of 3 prior, and that was the 4th one where we'd been ahead and not won the game. So, yeah, I think it was just frustrating, but good to see, obviously, midweek as well. We bounced back after that.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those, wasn't it? I think, it's interesting because he sounded a lot more. So after Spurs, he was almost like arguing with us all that it wasn't as bad as it actually was. And then with Everton, we had a little more of an acknowledgement that we needed to sort of play better and focus a bit more. And then in today's interview, actually the narrative has changed. So maybe he actually is being, he talks about it being a lapse of concentration that caused the problems. Whereas obviously after the Spurs game, he said it was all a lot of positives. So I think we are seeing a sea change in Skinner, and we might go into that a little bit as well. I think he's a little bit more business, and maybe he is starting to learn a little bit about how to get the best from the players. Vix, obviously you were at the game on Sunday. What was your view of Everton? If you want to go back there?
I think for me, if you go up 1-0 after 10 minutes, you should be pushing for more goals when you're on top. So I understand, the error cost us the win in the end, but we should have been far out of sight at that point because, they were better in the second half, but to get that goal so early, we should have been pushing for more, but it was like, we've got our goal now. And we've got plenty of good attackers to, get more goals. So I don't think you can do that, particularly on away ground like that, because it wasn't the greatest pitch in the world, was it? You've got to, you think it'd be better apart, wouldn't you? But
it's strange because the pitch isn't that bad. The pitch is like some sort of hybrid artificial thing, but it's like the beginning of a Sims game. You've just got to build the rest of it. Everton sort of stuck at level 1 kind of thing when you're there, because you've got a little stand and a bit of grass, and that's the end of that, really. But it was one of those, I think, that we could have won, but maybe it was the confidence that we were lacking, and hopefully, obviously, we're going to City, that City has given us that confidence. What about you, Maisie?
I watched the game on the TV, so on the first half I thought, we was completely dominant of the game. It was just like we was by far the miles better team. But then when it came out, it kind of felt like both sides, it literally was switched around. Like Everton was us, and then we was Everton. And then it just felt like it was Everton who had that little bit more of the chance. They obviously scored. It was a bad goal to concede, but I'm not going to be too critical about that, because there is always going to be them kind of goals what you are going to concede at the end of the day. We did try to score again very late on. We had the last kick of the game, but it didn't do anything. And that's the problem, is just like Connor said, we can't always rely on that one goal. If, for example, we want to be completely dominant in the first half, and maybe we're best off scoring 2-3 goals, perhaps take a bit more of that risk, instead of, obviously, when you are attacking, it feels like sometimes you're stopping and then waiting for someone, and then you pass it to someone, and I think that leads to the opposition to get the ball. And I think that is the thing what maybe Mark Skinner has noticed as well, because we are doing that a lot more when we have been drawing too. And his interview against Everton was so passionate. I was literally watching thinking, I haven't seen a passionate interview like that in so long off a manager, and it's shown that he isn't happy at all. He is here and he wants to show that he is successful at Manchester United, because coming from a successor of Casey Stoney, it is going to be difficult, because Casey Stoney, she was the one who built up Manchester United. She won us the championship. She got us where we are today. So it is always going to be a difficult job. Apart, of course, not knowing there is obviously Manchester United, the biggest club in the world, it is always going to be extremely difficult coming to a job like this. And he has shown on this interview, he's shown in the City game that he is able to make these changes. He is able to show to the players what needs to be done, because it worked against Manchester City. We took them chances. It worked.
Yeah, completely. I mean, I remember it now. It's funny because, as I say, all the games start to blend when you've been busy this week. And I think, I remember, just constantly shouting pace, really, because, I think, as you say, even with our goal, they actually didn't even have to pass to Ella. They seem to run and then stop, which you can get away with on some and not others. And we did that thing where we were very, very narrow on one side of the pitch, to the point where the other side of the pitch was like literally just empty. And depending on the defense that you're against, I think sometimes that can cause us lots of problems. I think, but it's interesting what you're saying about Skinner, because I think obviously we are unique in the WSL. We'll probably go into that in relation to some of the stuff we got over City and things after that. We are a big, passionate, loud fan base that goes home and away. And I do think maybe Skinner doesn't have to be, I think Skinner can't be blamed for not truly understanding that. that he's actually got a bit more of a sort of firecracker fan base compared to some of the other teams. So we're not going to allow an evaluation period season where he just quietly evaluates things and writes things in his little book. And occasionally he might want to do a double black fit, triple, whatever, zone 25, subsection 4 play, next season. We're going to put the pressure on him and keep the heat on him. And I think he might have sort of wobbled a little bit at that. But I think based on what happened, really since Spurs, he is starting to pick up that mantle. He's cut the crap and he actually looks like he's focusing on, he looks like a focused manager, really. Namrata, obviously linking to that, what would you think about Skinner and Everton? And obviously we'll get to City. We're just sort of making sure we cover Everton a bit.
I don't even remember the Everton match. Like, that's what a win does to you, right? Right now, I love everyone at United. When I was looking at the quotes from Mark Skinner press conference, suddenly I liked him a lot more. And, all the good stuff that we've read about Gary Jones the whole day. So in a good mood. I think Everton, for me, it was a bit more like Spurs. We scored early, but then it's like we just slow down. And it's almost like we are now looking for a draw. Looking to close out the match from 30 minutes onwards. Mm-hmm. And even though I personally don't think that Mary Earps, Everton's goal should have counted because Mary Earps had both hands on it. But I think
the thing that happened on Wednesday that
I didn't see it.
I didn't. Yeah, whatever. So
I must have went toilet when that goal happened.
Yeah, the FA player was acting up. So honestly, I didn't even see that goal.
Oh, it's the FA player.
Yeah. To be honest, there's probably more cameras in the stadium in everybody's pockets than was on the FA player. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but I think more than the goal, it was the way we were letting Everton really play through the midfield. So it was a bit of a concern, and I wasn't confident at all going into the City match. And especially when Skinner said he's going to heavily rotate the squad, I was like, we have 4 players. What does heavy rotation even mean? But yeah.
You sure he wasn't talking about his hair in case it's windy? You can sort of.
Yeah. But we've always done well against City in Conti Cup. So he put out, he rotated as best as he could. And thankfully we got the win. And it's great. You just see what it does to a fan base. Like everyone is really happy. Everyone is really positive right now.
Yeah, even me. So yeah, obviously, Chloe, we'll get you to just touch on Everton as well, and then we'll move into what I think everybody's waiting for, which is the analysis and views on City and the shenanigans afterwards. So yeah, Everton.
Yeah, no worries. Obviously, I was at the game as well, and we played brilliantly in the first half, and we played good after the first goal as well. But we should have been scoring more than just one. In the first half, we had so many chances to finish the game off in the first half. I don't know why we didn't. And then when we conceded that goal that shouldn't have been a goal, we just then stayed back, and we just didn't counter to get that second goal, that winning goal. It seems like we did just play for that draw after conceding the goal. But it was good to see how Mark Skinner was positive after the game for the Everton one, and it was good to see the rotation of the squad as well for City.
This was it, and hopefully, we're going to now move on to City. Hopefully, going into the league against Arsenal as well, he will actually try and essentially win the game, whoever you're actually playing against. I mean, we don't allow and can't have a mentality that Birmingham might have, which is we're not going to really win against X or Y. We need to try and minimise, because if you try and minimise, everything starts 0-0. And if you try and minimise, I think you can lose quite badly. So yeah, City.
Do you want me to jump in? Did you, Andy, or were you going to segue in?
Oh, I'm just sort of building that up, to be honest, Connor.
The suspense.
Obviously, yeah. I mean, it was funny because obviously first thoughts on the game, first 10 minutes when we, 10, 15 minutes when we went a goal down, I was really quite concerned. I thought, here we go again in relation to, Chelsea and stuff like that. But I thought, it was a great team performance, and I think we might touch on it a bit, but, especially off people that haven't played for a while, Kirsty Smith looked really strong, better than I've ever seen her, really. And especially coming back from injury, the way she did. Obviously Carrie Jones, who today has signed her first professional contract with United, which is brilliant. I think we need to get that in blood, make sure that she doesn't leave. I mean, that's really, really a fantastic find, I think. And Ivana obviously got the goal as well, along with obviously our Spanish queen, Ona Baje. It was just, as you say, it just lifts everybody. I'll start with you, Namrata, then as well. I mean, as you said you feel lifted by the game.
Yeah, I thought that would be impossible, but the thing is, I was having difficulties with the FA player, and I wasn't able to log in properly. So, and then we conceded the first goal very, very soon. And then I was just kind of having it in the background. And I think after about 20 minutes, we've just really stepped it up. And all the things that we were missing throughout the season, it seemed like I don't even remember the last time we had more than one player press the opposition. Like usually you have Tony who's kind of trying to do it on her own, and everyone's kind of half-hearted. But then it seemed like the team was kind of gelling up quite a bit. I still thought that the midfield wasn't as strong as it could have been, but I think we grew into the game. And to be honest, after 30 minutes or so, I did not think that City would ever look like they are going to win the match. And I thought it might be a draw, and again, it'll go to penalties. But the winner from Ona, right? Amazing. And I think it's just the kind of player that she is. She's tenacious. She fights for the ball, and so she got the ball. And I know the keeper wasn't that great, but I thought it was a really well made goal from her.
Oh, completely. I mean, that's the extra thing that you get from Ona. I know we've done shows in the past about, if Jackie or Ona, if we had to keep one and all this kind of stuff. But for me, I mean, Ona she adds so much value because you don't necessarily sign a defender to score goals. And not only is she a top-class defender, world-class defender, really, in my opinion, she's also scoring goals. So you can't really, ask more than that. And she's, she's got a lot of youth on her side as well. Kind of what's your thoughts as well, linking to that on the City game and sort of what we saw that was more pleasing?
Yeah, I mean, like everyone else, I was worried as soon as it was a misplaced pass, and I thought, it's another individual error. I thought, same as everyone else, it was like, it's Chelsea again, misplaced passes at the back. And, it was weird as well, because this is something we are going to have to rectify for Arsenal. We cannot defend in the way that we did. And this is not on the player, this is on Skinner, because we could hear him shouting the instructions to Ivana. I don't know if you saw, about 30 minutes in, Ivana was like, what do you want me to do, kind of thing. Before she scored, Skinner was telling us to do something, and she kept turning around like, what do you want me to do? Because he was asking them to hold really narrow and not track back and help the fullbacks out, which is why you probably saw Ona and Kirsty had a right old evening, with the wingers. And it's almost like we wanted them to do that, which is a bit weird. So we can't really do that against Arsenal. One player I really want to praise, because I've never seen it before sure, obviously signed for United. Bo Risa had a really, really tough first 20 minutes, gave the ball away twice, led to City's goal, and led to City's best chance of the game, really, if you discount the goal. But then after that, to have the character to go, forget that, let's just, carry on doing what I'm doing. I think a few of us, kind of where we were stood, said it it's the first time ever I've been to a game and seen someone switch the play. Like, finally, we had somebody who could pass more than 10 yards. It was ridiculous, because we've been crying out for ages not to pass between the back four, pass between the midfield. So Bo Reese picked up, it was one, I think it was just after the half time, and it was about 40, 50 yards out to Kirsty. And it's like, yes, finally, like some quick play. And that was kind of symptomatic of the performance, really. It's stuff we've been crying out for. We played with a bit more width, Ivana and Kurt, and obviously then Golden came on and Russo came on, and I mean, what a bench to have to bring on. You bring on Leah to Russo, and then Blundell and Zellum came on as well. That's not a bad substitutions to make, is it? So Yeah, it was just that's why I said I think Skinner got it right, because he changed something, and this is where he's got to be adaptable in games. He's got to change it depending on who you play. That was great for City. Change it a little bit for Arsenal, we'll be fine. You know, he's got to look at it game by game, and I hope he does rotate his players and the tactics depending on who we play, because, like I said, that was good for Wednesday night. But if we do that against Arsenal, we'll get torn apart out wide again. So. Yeah, there's a lot of positives, like you said. You know, we'll go into individual players, I'm sure, as we go on. But yeah, I just wanted to mention Bo Risa because it was just, you know, to have a really tough first 20 minutes, your mind can go really negative and go, oh God, I'm giving the ball away, and then you start playing it safe because you don't want to give the ball away and the crowd to get on your back. She didn't. She kept playing those, which was brilliant. So, you know, especially for me, because I was really, when that lineup came out, I thought Bo Risa and Stanley as a midfield too. I thought, well, that's asking for trouble, but it worked, so credit to him.
So obviously, focusing on the midfield then, Vix, as well. I mean, what was your thoughts on that? And again, you know, how we played against City?
I think, well, like Connor said, at first you're thinking, well, for me, Lucy Stan's more of a 10. So it was like, oh, again, we've not got that balance, but we've got injuries, haven't we? And, you know, you're thinking ahead, aren't you, to Arsenal. But I think that game will be so important for Vilde Bo Risa because she did make a few mistakes, but her range of passing is exceptional. How she, you know, like she can make a pass and take out quite a few of the opposition players just because it, you know, she just can find the angles. So I think a game like that for a new player coming from another league, you know, that will do wonders for her confidence. And you could see her at full time when Nat was making a kiss to the badge, and she, you know, she was part of it.
When you say make it, makes it sound like you got a gun to her head. She did it quite willingly. I was there when it happened. Yeah,
but
she's a scary lady, but she did.
Kiss the badge. Come on, kiss the badge. But I think when you think about it, we started off and that goal, and you're like, and everyone. We weren't even singing at that point. We're just going, press, come on, quicker, because it just felt so much like the Chelsea game, and it was just going to fall to pieces. But this game could prove to be so important in that through that from the start to the finish, they sort of got all the stakes out of them to like building and growing into the game and all the best aspects of our play coming out. So I just hope Mark looks at that and say, right, this is where it wasn't good at the start, but look at the difference it makes when you press players. I mean, Carrie Jones just didn't let him rest, did she? And then she'd go down, and you're like, yeah, that's it. That's what we want to see. I just think it'll done them all such a world of good, because I think the manner in which Chelsea beat us, I think the concentration issues, you know, I think all the problems from that Chelsea game had been put at the back of the minds, and they needed something like this to say, right, this is our turning point. We can move forward now.
Yeah, and I think there are a couple of key points that I thought about the City game as well. There's two things there that hopefully Mark's going to listen to. Number one, I appreciate it's Conte, so they also rotated, but you had pairings that hadn't really played together before. Obviously, yeah. Kirsty Smith being back, and look, Mark, it worked. So sometimes we don't have to literally have. It's not Lego. We can actually mix people about it. We don't have to tie two people together. Now I know familiarity is helpful, but I think sometimes he can tie himself in knots in relation to what he wants. And I think, you know, when we did start, as you say, pushing a bit more, and I was shouting pace probably louder than anybody, because, you know, it seems to not be the way he wants to play. But then occasionally he sort of lets them do it, and then suddenly, oh look. You know, we have the pace and we get the result, and we get what we need to see. And I think, and how much, it's amazing, how much do you think, you know, different pairings having a go on Wednesday, and also, you know, the fact we've now won is going to do for the confidence of our players as well?
Mm-hmm. I definitely think that when you do look at it, we had that game, and then we had Arsenal game until international break. So it was going to be completely different of how the team was going to be. A part of me thought we need this rotation, but the other part of me thought perhaps maybe he might not do rotation because there's only after this game, one more game till international break. He probably wants to get the best out of his players, because I think that's what a lot of people will probably think in that case. And I thought it was quite surprising how, like, Tooney was on the bench, because even though she is that influential player coming on, she's also been in Manchester City's academy. So I thought maybe she could have been that little bit, that key there in the starting 11 to see what she would have been able to do. But I think the rotation worked extremely well. You got to see the best out of Stanner. You got to see the best out of Borisa together as well. I think they worked really well. Carrie Jones, we haven't really seen too much of her because she obviously started in the Conti Cup, but she's doing a sub every time we have seen her in like the Super League. So it was good to see that start, and it shows the kind of player she is, the strong player she is, the fast player she is, how she just wants to get stuck in everywhere she goes. And to be honest, she really does deserve that professional contract. She's an absolute amazing prospect at Manchester United, and I'd love to see a little bit more of her in the Super League, see how she does get on. Even if we did play her against like Reading or Birmingham or Leicester, just to see how she does get on, because I think her playing in the Super League, playing in that little bit, the little bit less competitive teams, I think it would do the really world of good for her, to be honest. And overall, I think it was just an absolute amazing game. Second half, coming through, getting that last-minute goal. It was just absolutely amazing. And I didn't see how the goal went in, unfortunately, the build-up to it. It's just, I couldn't see.
I think some of us were hiding a little bit at certain points of the game.
Yeah.
It was one of those, it was even in the stands. It was one of those. Yeah. I'm quite tall and quite big, so I can't duck down that much. But I was kind of still a little bit, looking at it. Yeah, I mean, you were quite near me, Chloe, as well. What's your thoughts on City?
I think we played well, apart from the first 20 minutes, like we've all said. I think after we got that, had a couple of chances. And then obviously we had that. Was it in the first half? The injury.
Yeah.
Head injury between Alex and Martha, wasn't it?
Yeah.
After that, I think then we started playing really well. We got the instructions onto the pitch. We knew what we were doing. We knew who to get the ball to. We brought out the wingers from City. We had Ivana and Ona going at Demi Stokes and causing trouble at the back for the defenders. Martha Thomas played an absolute great game again against City. But my standout player was Kirsty Smith, was Smudge. She had an outstanding game, definitely from coming back from injury after such a long period of time, not knowing whether she was going to play again for us or if she was going to get on the first team starting 11. For her to come back and have an outstanding game was just great to see, and hopefully she'll start or at least come off the bench in league matches. She's one player that I would definitely like to see back in the league for us, whether it be replacing Ona or Hannah on the wing. But for me, she was the outstanding player for us, as well as obviously Carrie Jones, who thankfully has signed a professional contract today, which is amazing. And obviously she's come through the development squad, and that's just thanks to obviously Charlotte Healy for doing that for us. But yeah, and then the second half we came out with all guns blazing basically, and we started off how we finished the first half, and we kept pushing them, and we eventually got that stunning goal from Ona. And then obviously with Tooney and Galton coming on, and the other players coming on, that was for me one of our best games this season by a mile.
It was, and I think we might go on to obviously what we're going to do for Arsenal, but I think Kirsty could push even Leah maybe, because I know and out at the starting lineup on Sunday, which might be a bit of a controversial thing to say. I mean, she was that good. She all right. She's got to get her fitness up a little bit because she's been injured for so long, but she looked really, really strong. And as someone who was essentially obviously an original 21 and has always been a squad player, to see her developing, well, someone's developed her. And who's the manager? Skinner. So actually, maybe we are starting to lift some of our existing squad players as well. I mean, Connor, is there anybody that you think might be actually going to get a place on Sunday based on Wednesday's performance?
What the player you just mentioned, Kirsty, is probably the closest. I think, depending on injuries, obviously he mentioned Ladd, didn't he, in his little interview earlier, whether she comes back in, because you expect Zellum's going to come back in, so it's and Toon's going to come back in, so it's going to be that midfield. Does Bo Risa get there? Probably. If there's still a few injuries, I would probably stick with that, to be honest. So you're probably looking at Kirsty Smith as the potential player, and I actually think from what I've seen this year, just from that one game, she's better defensively than Hannah. Hannah makes a lot of mistakes defensively, but she's so good going forward. So maybe looking at Arsenal, shore things up maybe in defence. Maybe he goes with Kirsty over Hannah. It's an option. It's a good option to have, because you need, I think, Nat says it a lot on this channel as well, you need 2 players for every position, because you need that competition. Otherwise players get comfortable and then, you see what happens there. So she's probably the closest out of everybody to starting, because you expect Galton to come back in, Russo will start, Toon will start, and it'll probably be Hansen on the right, won't it? So Fuso and Jones probably don't get in. I'd like to see, the one thing I will say though, I'd like to see them just get minutes, because I think with Skinner we see it a lot where the subs are very late. It's always like 80 odd minutes or so, and you can't really impact a game with 10 minutes to go. You need at least 20, 30 minutes to impact a game. So yeah, I'd like to see some of them just, like we said, we've got plenty of games this year, Brighton and Villa after the international break. Let's use the squad a bit more and generate some competition for places, because I think we've all seen the first kind of 6 or 7 games. We could almost pick the 11. We know who's starting, barring injuries and these kind of things. I think we need to go into games going, oh, he could play, Ivana, he could play Barisa, he could, so and so. That's where you get good competition. So, yeah, I think the only player that's close for Sunday is Kirsty Smith. But, maybe he will throw Fuso in there, instead of maybe Galton and leave Galton as a, as an impact sub. Who knows? But, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he does go with Kirsty Smith, because I thought she was brilliant defensively. And, Hannah's brilliant. I don't want anyone to misinterpret that as, I'm not saying Hannah's a good player. She is. But I think just from what I saw, I think Kirsty Smith is very good defensively. So maybe that's an option for Sunday.
And of course, the other standout point of the night was Ivana doing her karaoke impression by running up and announcing the substitution of Ivana Bajé. And they completely, to be fair, I don't want to be too hard on him because he probably wasn't even there. The slightly hadn't have a clue who it was. Who thought it was a very excitable stadium announcer. Well, I don't know. I don't think Alan Keegan's voice is that high personally, but there you go. I mean, what a funny memory that was, wasn't it? I mean, you obviously, for those that were watching it on TV, so like Namrata, did you get it? What did you think when that happened? Did you see it? Think it was a player or?
I actually missed that because of the bloody FA player. So I'm not kidding. I'm honestly not kidding. I think just before the goal, no, not just before. It was literally in the middle of Ona scoring the goal. The broadcast went out, but I could see on Twitter everyone who was watching the match. They were. It was all like, oh, it's Ivana, and I didn't even know what's with Ivana because he's not on the field right now. What did he do? So I think it was today when I finally found the video for that. So yeah, it was brilliant, and I think it's that. I think when last year Casey, she had an interview where she said that Ivana's come in and she's been a breath of fresh air, and she has this personality that kind of keeps the whole team buzzing, and you can kind of see that. I don't really see that happening a lot, and it was great. And yeah, I hope both her and Ona stay in our team for a long time and bring along their friends as well.
Yes, definitely. Especially those that might play for Barcelona or other. No, yeah. I mean, I think we've touched on it a bit, haven't we? About what a great night it was. Under the lights, it was a fantastic, occasion. We got the win. The noise. I mean, obviously, anyone can jump in on this. I mean, if you actually listen to the, yeah, they won't let her do that, John. You get a bit of latitude, but not that much, mate. Trust me. Trust me on
we
that.
Wish.
Yeah, definitely. I think after the game, when Ivana wanted a picture, I thought Nat was going to go down the slide. To be honest, she was very close. Very close.
I think we all did.
Yeah, very, very close. She's well loved by everybody, I think. But yeah, it was one of those fantastic football occasions. Under the lights, it was a pleasure to be there. Obviously we've all seen the second goal. And I'm directly going to be starting twisting onto what I want to go on to now. But we saw the second goal, and there was a thing called the roar of the crowd, and how refreshing was that? Maisie in a women's game.
Yeah, absolutely refreshing. The atmosphere was absolutely incredible for the against Manchester City, because when you are playing the biggest, obviously your biggest rival, you want that little bit of atmosphere, you want that little bit of noise, and you got that, because I think it was a very high attendance, wasn't it, from what I heard too. So quite a few people, when both Manchester United fans and maybe some City fans, not too sure, but I didn't see any. But yeah,
there were certain things that they certainly imagined that didn't happen. So fair enough, yeah.
But I literally, when you heard the crowd, you could hear the crowd on the FA player. I could hear some of the crowd, and when I was rewatching the highlights back on NUTV as well, you could hear how the crowd is absolutely booming, and that is something what you do really love to hear. And I think it boosts up the players as well as it boosts up the manager too, because when you hear that little bit of crowd noise, when you hear them cheering for you, screaming for you, you get that little bit of momentum, and you think, I want to do this for the fans who are here today. And I think that was kind of like our 12th player in a way, because we had that little bit of atmosphere, and I think that was one of the things that really pushed Manchester United to get that last goal for us.
Yeah, and this is it, and it makes me angry, because it was a great occasion. It was a fantastic football match. We had a brilliant atmosphere. We respect we always have as United fans, respect the players as athletes, as female players who play women's football. Whereas our opposition, certainly not all of them, but in relation to, and I will name them because it's ridiculous, the Manchester City Supporters Club. Official supporters club decided to come up with some utter, I've got to be careful on language here, excrement linked to male cows, right, about booing being abuse. You know what I think's abuse? Treating adult women like they're children, and that they can't deal with the same atmosphere as an equivalent man who's playing the game, of taking away the opportunity of a little girl who might be watching TV with her brother, like maybe Lauren James did with Reece when they were younger. They probably played FIFA. They probably, pretended that they were scoring the winner. And he might have dreamt about the roar of the crowd, and he could get that and has got that for Chelsea. Why, and I'm directly addressing you now, why don't you want female players to have that? It's almost a form of sexism. Why do you think that only the male game gets to have the roar of the crowd and gets to have the passion and the enjoyment? Because yes, we did boo Alex Greenwood, and it wasn't just us. The whole fan boo Alex Greenwood, but it's called football and it's called passion, and and it was quite loud. But she certainly gave certain things that she did on the pitch as well that gave it back. And and I'm just very passionate, because I've been to, when I first started with women's football, I've been to WSL games where it is like a teddy bear's picnic and there is literally no noise. And I think that makes me very angry, because it's disrespectful as hell to the players who are playing. Because basically, if you ain't going to make noise and you're not going to support your team, what the hell are you doing there? Anyway, let's move that around. So let's go with you, Connor. Then you start off.
I was just going to jump. I want to bring up this comment. I'll answer. So now, obviously, this channel in particular is just women's content. Obviously, we do have the men's side as well, all for United. Just give that. They're live now, actually. If you wanted to ask a question on Ollie, they are talking about that over there. So you are allowed. Please get all your questions in the comments. But this particular show on this channel is just about the women's team. So. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to make my point very brief on this, because Andy Slater's tweet got it bang on. It takes away from people that actually get abused at grounds and players that do actually get abused.
Yeah.
Calling, booing abuse, it just takes away from actual abuse. Now, if a player comes out and says she doesn't like it and the fans carry on, then I think it's, but Greenwood, Greenwood in the first derby was getting booed, in the first 20 minutes or so. City scored, Greenwood turns to us, fist pumps right in front of us. I like, we want that as fans. It probably riles her up in a good way. Us booing her probably makes her play better in some ways because it riles her up thinking, oh God, I can't wait to score. I can't wait for us to score to turn around and show them. Getting that. Now, there are instances where it goes too far. It does. In the men's game, it's gone way too, over the top with some of the things you hear at grounds. But, just booing a player, it's like you said, and it's a little bit patronising because it's almost like they're going to say, well, don't clap, actually, because that's patronising. We can't do that. Don't cheer, So, where's it going to end? So this whole booing thing, if Greenwood had come out and said, yes, it is, hurting me and these kind of things, I'm pretty sure we'd stop. But she hasn't. She actually has come out and said, she kind of like revels in that. Let's, like I said, go back and watch the first derby. Watch when City scored the first goal against us in the first derby. Greenwood's first reaction is to turn to us and put her fists up at us. Like, as much as that is annoying, as a United fan, I would want our players to do exactly the same. If Mannion scored, I'd want her to do the same. It's football at the end of the day. And it's like you said, Andy. There's a difference between abuse and booing, and I think these tweets and what we've seen, it takes away from. There's more important things going on in football right now that need looking at, not booing.
Yeah, 100%. Vix?
Well, I was speaking to my mum about it and I went, you're a bad parent because you took me to a pantomime which taught me to boo.
All my best lines are coming out now.
And she's like, what? You're not, I said, oh, you can't boo at football match. She's like, but isn't it just banter? They do it in the men's game. I said, yeah, exactly. And I told her about the comments, and she went, there's some very strange people on the internet.
Well, enough about me.
For me, it's like, what annoys me the most about it, Andy, I think, well, if you're that bothered about your players, there's this pitch with these seats all around it, and there's lots of empty ones where your team play. Why don't you go and sit there, make a bit of noise and support them? Instead 100%. Of, trying to drag journalists in and the big bad Man United fans, the anti-boo brigade can go and do one for me. I just think just let the best about it, 95% of the time, we're probably singing for our team. Yeah. We're not that bothered about the opposition. It's all about supporting our team. And then, to be fair, like we're saying, with the boos, it's almost like a respect thing, isn't it? If we weren't bothered about it, we wouldn't do it. We're not saying she's a bad player. We'll probably boo her more because we still think she's a good player. If she, to be hated, are disliked, can't say hate, probably get people trying to burn my house down and say that.
I'll say hated.
But I just think that is probably better. Like Connor said, you see it all the time. You boo players, don't you, who you respect on the opposition side, and then they go and score against you, and then they rub it in. But we want atmosphere. You want people to watch games like that in the women's game, and I think there was passion on both sides, weren't there? So a bit of bite to it.
And as John's put in the comments there, it's true, to be honest. I think someone needs to look at the word hypocrite in the dictionary as well, because I think they might find some similar things there. At the end of the day, as I said, it makes me angry because I care so much about the players and as athletes, and I class them as athletes, and I think there's a lot of sort of the more people that were involved that we're referring to who do kind of see it as a bit of a family day out, take the kids to Pizza Hut, get an ice cream, go watch a women's football game. No.
Take up chess, just go and sit in the library and read a couple of books.
Exactly. Like, I've got to be careful because I could probably take an hour on myself doing like musings from Andy O'Nien, so I've got to be careful there. So obviously, what was that?
Are they going to ban pantomimes next?
They're going to ban fun, basically. They're going to ban fun, which is basically what they look like on most of them on Twitter anyway. That's already happened. Okay, obviously, just touching on what I was saying as well, Chloe or May, or both actually. Obviously, you know, I wasn't a young girl. You obviously were at one point. I mean, my analysis about the two people watching the game, do you think, is that true? Do you think that's the case? You know, we had talked about Reece and when they were growing up. I mean, why should you guys be, you know, be denied the dream of being able to play under a large crowd?
Do you want to go first, Chloe?
Yeah, go on in. It's one of them. It's if you have grown up with playing in a squad, like I played in an all boys team. I was the only girl for a number of years, and we had booing from the opposition, but we just took that as banter, and we got on with it. And that's it's being as a 10 years old, and you just get on with it at such a young age. The girls will have got on with it at such a young age. They'll have grown up with it in the academies, in the all girls football team, or whichever team they played in before they came to the academy. They'd have got used to that. And like Alex Greenwood said in her interview with Georgia Stanway, she expects it from us. And if she was a United fan, or any fan, she would do the exact same. And that's what football is, because you get it in the men's, and you get it in everything. You get booing. You just boo the villain, like we say in the pantomime. But it's not that we don't like Alex Greenwood. It's that we love her, and we loved her at our club. But she's now on the opposition team, and that's all. Because I'll say it now. I've got an England shirt with Alex Greenwood on that I got for the Women's World Cup in France, and I supported her in England. And I know Vix is laughing here now, but that's because she was one of my favourite players at Man United, and obviously with her going to Man City, she's gone over to a rival team. But that's not being disrespectful to us. It's just that she's gone to another team for more opportunities.
Well, she was our captain as well, and I think as Susie pointed out, you know, we only boo her because we loved her and she left us for our opposition. She was our captain, and that's what she said in her tweet recently. And Maisie,
yeah, when you do look at it, you need to think, if, for example, Manchester City did win, would they be complaining about the booing? My answer is no, they wouldn't have been. They would have happily took on these boos like it's just literally normal. You get booing all the time. Like, you do look at, you see so many people think, why can't men and women be treated the same? But then when a man's football and a women's football gets treated the same in terms of the booing and in terms of the crowd noise, you get that more crowd noise. People are not liking it. And then you do question, well, which one would you rather be? With booing, that is the whole kind of case, especially in a derby. You want that little bit of booing, you want that little bit of anger, you want that little bit of frustration, you want that little bit of face momentum coming out of these players, or coming out of the fans, because you think, oh my God, that shouldn't have been a foul. That's how you react, especially in a derby. And then when you see something like a goal, you scream into high heavens because you scored against your rival team. And then when you see a player who was first in the Man United squad, she was the captain for us. She was, as we will call, the OG of Manchester United. You'd expect that you'd have them bit of booing, because you think you're playing for our rivals now, and then after how you behaved in the first, going all like that, celebrating about with us, we are going to boo against you, and that is the whole part of football. You do get them booings. You get the same in men's football. Like, you see, like a Liverpool player going to Manchester City, Liverpool players boo at this Manchester City player now. You're going to get the booing if you do go to a rival club. It is just the whole part of it. And the only thing I would disagree with booing is when you boo someone's national anthem. That is the only time I would discredit booing. Apart from that, I think booing is natural. You do that in terms of football. But if it was national anthem, I would say no. But when it's club football, you're doing it against your rival, then yeah, I do completely agree with it. You are going to have them up boos if it is against a play, if it is against a foul, if it's against a goal. you are going to get that no matter what.
Yeah, brilliantly said. I think it's between the between the white lines as well, isn't it? You can all think of Hayley Ladd in the physical player for in the women's game, going back in the day, giving a nod to people like Ben Elos talking about this kind of era, Roy Keane, all this kind of stuff. They'd put big physical tackles in. But then when the whistle goes, that's the end of the game. They're not going to be like running around doing it after the game. It is just part of the game and it's part of the passion. And Namrata, so if I thought, because this is what I think these people are doing. So if I said to you, I think you should play football, but if you I think you shouldn't be booed, dear lady. I think really only the men can deal with the boos. How does that make you feel? Because that's what I think these guys are saying.
Listen, I don't know how it is with women's football in England, but I've played sports throughout school and college level, and I can tell you, they don't look at, like, if you're a girl or a guy, they're going to boo you. And I think with this thing, right, actually, so I don't know how many of you are cricket fans, but coming from India, I think one of the first matches that I've watched, I think the games at the Academy Stadium at Manchester City is like a Lord's test match. So they score a boundary and the crowd's like clapping politely. Well, then you look at cricket matches in India and people are going mad. Like when India scores a boundary, you can hear the whole locality kind of go up. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's something that you need more of, in fact. There's another point that actually I like to say is that it's not the first time that they've done that. So in fact, every single time that we drop points against them, there's always a section of their fans. I'm not saying all the fans are the same. Of course, no club has fans where all are either good or bad, but some section of fans, they always find a way to blame the match-going fans who are in the stadium. So the first Conti Cup match where we won 2-0, I think Kira Walsh was sent off for a tackle on Kirsty Hansen, and the entire women's football community just came out and said, oh, she's such a nice girl, she didn't mean it, so we shouldn't be harsh. But keep that aside. But there were a few City fans who were talking about how United fans in the stands, they were shouting, red card, and they influenced the referee to give the decision, which is absolute bullshit, because that's literally the...
Oh, you said it. I had to twist my tongue with that.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yellow card now.
It doesn't matter if it's a red card or not, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter if your team player has made a foul. There's a foul, you ask for a red card. That's the first basics of supporting. And even the thing with Georgia Stanway, right? I condemn the social media abuse that she's seen, but I remember I was watching that match, and within, I think, maybe 2 or 3 minutes of her getting a red card, it was like the entire Twitter world, they were alive, they were euphoric, and it wasn't just the United fans, it was Arsenal fans, Chelsea fans who were kind of celebrating because they saw her as a reckless player who usually gets away. And it wasn't just even them, even US women's national team players who've kind of blocked me for so many, when press was playing for us. And they also even spoke out about that. And within 2-3 minutes, I saw City fans, they just talking about how just because I'm calling Georgia Stanway a reckless player, which for me, I don't think is an abuse, but it was kind of, I became the villain because I was calling out her football traits. And if you can't even criticize players, what's the whole point? And it's the same thing that happened this time as well. I think this time they took it to a whole new level. And, if you say, like, I'm a girl, and you say that people shouldn't boo against me, I'll be like, shut up. I will boo whoever I want, and I don't care if somebody boos me, right? It's just a part of... I just want
to highlight that. You see what I mean? Exactly. I just want to highlight that statement. Just repeat that in case that... Yeah.
And I used to play basketball back in school and college, and I remember once I was playing and I heard boos from the other side, and it actually made me play even harder. It made me improve my performance. And I was actually pointing towards supporters of my college and being like, why the hell are you not booing? You should be the one. You have to, like, balance the whole thing. And they suddenly came alive and they're like, yeah, we have to defend our pride and whatever. But I absolutely love it. And unless it's something which is sexist, which is something which is personal about a player, I think that is something which should be off limits, but otherwise it's fair game.
Completely. Connor?
Yeah, no, I was pointing down when Maisie was speaking. Fucking bang on. City would not be doing. City would not be doing this. No, I tweeted Natalie when this all came out. City are doing this to deflect away from the performance. We've spent more time talking about this than we have our performance in the game, because that's what they want. They don't want us talking about the game. They don't want us talking about the fact we beat them in a derby and the fact that they're potentially out of obviously second place in the Conti Cup. They don't want us talking about that. They want us focusing on this. And this is what I mean. This is why they come out with ridiculous statements like this, because it gets us talking. It gets Andy, riled up, because they know it will get us talking about it rather than talking about the actual game and the fact we beat them in a derby. And all this about booing it. Me and John and Andrew obviously follow Stourbridge. They're tier 5 in the women's game. They want to go down there and see the kind of rivalries and think Stourbridge playing Tamworth. I can give you a short story here. Tamworth fans were giving stick all game to some of the Stourbridge players. What does she go and do? As soon as she scores, runs over, does that right in front of the Tamworth bench. It's rivalries in football. It's what generates atmosphere and brings fans to the game, because you don't want a dull game where it's completely silent and everyone's all kind of mates with each other kind of thing. You want that passion, especially in a derby. But it's like I said, we spent so much talking about this rather than the game, and that's what they want. They don't want us talking about the game. They want us talking about ludicrous statements like this.
Totally. I think the great thing about it, we're going to keep talking about the game, because we had some great times of play and it did brilliantly. I think I've come out on the offensive because I'm not particularly bothered about what some of these people are like in that respect. What I found quite interesting was when they did cry to every journalist in the Northern Hemisphere, most of them actually backed us up. Because actually, most of them respect women and respect female players as athletes, not as, didn't they do well, like rubbish that they seem to think. So Namrata?
I just want to say I don't agree with Maisie and Connor. I think even if they had won, they would have still made those comments, because it's just something, I think at this point, it might seem harsh for me, but for a few City fans, it's like it's all they have right now. They I think every single time, it doesn't matter the result, but there's this moral high ground that's taken. We are the most respectful fans in the whole of WSL. So I just kind of disagree with that. So really sorry.
Who is City fans?
Yeah.
City fans.
City
fans.
fans. Yeah, City
right.
fans.
Okay. Right. Yeah. No, I think they're the most asleep fans in the WSL.
I think some of the City fans are actually pretty good, and
of course,
like
always
Emirates
back
came
to
on
them.
last night.
But then, and I think we know who we are talking about, this particular very small minority, I would say. But I just knew it's going to happen, no matter we win or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on, Vix.
I think as well, what annoys me is every time we play them, there's some interview with some players in the newspapers or on Sky going, oh, we've been on the receiving end of lots of abuse. And it's sort of read between the lines that it's just Man United fans who are giving them stick, where like Nam said before, Stanway is universally hated amongst the WSL fan base. Because she gets away with murder with some of those tackles. But it always seems to be before we play them, there's some story, oh, we've been on the receiving end of abuse. So reading between the lines, it's always like sets the game up. Oh, we're trying to shut the fans up before they've even started, all the Man United fans.
Yeah, see, I disagree slightly because, like what Amazing Connor was saying, if you look at what Stanway and Greenwood did, they did have some really horrible abuse. But the problem is when you mix it in with this fake crap about booing, it devalues and muddies the waters too much. So when they've got valid points in relation to some things that happen on social media and some of the things that she got after the tackle, as I think Connor and Maisie was saying, it conflates the two together and it makes everybody look silly. And and it doesn't really, help anybody out. It just puts everybody's backs up, and as I said, makes us think about the fact that we provide the atmosphere. And to be honest, it shouldn't just. I mean, it isn't just us. We are slowly, Chelsea are getting a bit of an atmosphere now. There's a lot of other clubs that are starting to follow our lead a little bit. But there's certain clubs where, I just put myself in the mind of a player where if you're giving your all, say you get an injury, half of them might not even notice because they're just so quiet. Why should you put your body on the line for Dorothy, who's come over to watch a game as she's been at Asda and has no real focus on what's going on? It should be a passionate cauldron, and that's one of the things I think that that we need. But obviously, just moving on to Arsenal, and just as you say, in case you haven't mentioned it, after we beat City 2-1, that would be a victory against City 2-1. On Wednesday, we also beat City 2-1. So I've said it 3 times now, so that should up the average a little bit. So how do you think that's going to take us into Arsenal, Chloe?
I think taking us into Arsenal after a win is going to give us the energy we need and the positivity. We know Mark's going to add in Katie Zellum again, and probably Hayley Ladd, hopefully, if she's back. As we know, she's been called up to the Wales squad, so hopefully she'll be back in the squad this weekend. But Arsenal have had a midweek game with being in the Champions League, so they're going to be a little bit behind, but not as much as we, because we both played on Wednesday. They've had like a match nearly every 3-4 days. So after Sunday's match, they'll have that break. But I think if we can at least get a draw and get a point from the game, I think that'll definitely be a result for us. I think if Mark puts the team out that we know best fits against Arsenal and that best suits the playing style Arsenal plays with, then I think we've got a good chance. The only thing I'm nervous about is if Tobin Heath's going to start, because at the minute Tobin Heath's not been starting. She didn't start against in the Champions League. She didn't start. I don't know if I can't remember if she played against Tottenham, because I know she was still in USA, I think, if I'm right. But I feel like she might start against us, and that atmosphere when Tobin Heath comes on, because we missed out on seeing her play for us. I think that's going to be good, but will there be booing involved with Tobin Heath? Do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
also, what else is going to happen? There's going to be there's going to be a lady in black that's going to blow a whistle. The ball's typically white, and they'll be kicking it around. There'll be 2 goals as well. And I think people need to understand is that fundamental to football. Maisie?
For me, it's going to be a difficult game for us, knowing that how Arsenal has been so far in this Super League. They have made good signings. They brought in a new manager as well, and it has really clicked for the team. We need to look at some of the weaknesses of Arsenal, which Spurs has done. They've got Leah Williamson out, and that is going to be a huge blow for Arsenal because she is that leader in the back. So it'll be interesting to see if Arsenal do change the formation. Will they stay as a back 4? Will they go as a back 3? That'll be something what will be quite interesting to see going into the game. And another thing for me is, as Chloe did touch on, will Tobin Heath start? Because we do know Tobin Heath, she is a very experienced player, and I do believe she was on the bench for the Champions League. So most likely she was probably on the bench there, probably ready for the game on Sunday. For me, what we just need to do, we need to come out. I'd say Hayley Ladd would be someone who I would personally start, just because she is that so central defensive midfielder, and we need to be very cautious of our passing as well when it comes to Arsenal, because they are a quick team. So we need to do like one touch pass, very, very quick on the counter attack, because I think it's going to be more counter attacking football against Arsenal. And this is what we do need to prepare against. But I think when we aren't that prepared for counter football, we can easily give the ball away. So we need to, I'd say, Matt's going to say, okay, this is going to be a difficult game now, and make them be a bit more prepared for this counter-attacking kind of football. Just make them like, when we do have the ball, we need to use it properly. We need to have our pace because we have got the pace. So if we use our pace, go up the wings or go up midfield, whatever is best going forward. We need to do that, and we need to do it quite quickly, because I think Arsenal can shut us down fairly quickly with the defence they've got. And we just need to, for me, just keep with our passing. I think the passing is very, very key for us against Arsenal. I think that is going to be the make or break for us, because when you do look at the Chelsea game, sorry everyone, you did see how shocking the passing was and how we was giving the ball quite cheaply away. And if we did the exact same against Arsenal, I think it's going to get the same result, if you want me to be fairly honest.
Yeah, no, I think that might be the case. So, won or lost in midfield, Vix, like the previous commentator said. What do you think?
Yeah, it's tricky because, I mean, we don't know what they'll do, what changes they'll make after Champions League. I think you need Hayley Ladd in there to sit in front of the defence and break up play. But then I don't know what he's going to do. I mean, I was quite interested that he didn't mention Jackie on the injury list. Whether that he's just forgot about her, and he's just going to throw her back in.
It's been a number of weeks for me as well.
I just don't know how he's going to set up. I would imagine he'll probably play similar to what he did against Spurs. Line up. I mean, I
line up maybe. Hopefully not literally.
Well, not, but you know what I mean. I think he'll revert back to type more than anything. His normal setup.
Well, I hopefully with a new sense of confidence. Connor, what do you think? Do you think we're going to go into the game actually thinking we can win it, or do you think we're going to go in the game and wobble a little bit, possibly like the first 10-15, like we did against City?
Yeah, I think this sounds really contradictory, but I almost hope the players ignore the fans, because we're going to be there making the noise, and hyping the players. I don't want the players to be trying to press Arsenal from the first minute, because they'll just play through us. If I was Miedema, I'd be sticking myself on Mannion, because you're probably going to beat her in the air. Ellen White was doing that. Harder did it when they played again, when Chelsea came against us. So I don't want, like I said, I want the players. We saw against Chelsea, they came out the blocks flying, and we misplaced passes. We were all over the place. I want us to have a composed start. Let's see where we are at halftime, 50 minutes, 60 minutes, so on, and then let's see where we are then, because City are still a good side, but they're not on the level of Arsenal and Chelsea. This is going to be a much tougher test than what we saw midweek. So we can beat them. It's there. But we need to stay in the game for as long as we can. We can't go if we go 1 or 2 down after the first, kind of 10, 15 minutes, yes, maybe the belief's there after midweek, but I just can't see us turning that back around, not against this side. Maybe against another team, you could maybe see it, but it's going to be a long game. I could do for all of us there, and for people watching, it's going to be a long, tough game, but I just hope we come out the blocks with composure. That midfield, whoever I'm assuming it's going to be Zelem and Ladd, if she's fit, or Zelem and Bo Reese, it'll be one of those two, and then two in front. They need to make sure they control the game, make sure they keep it, between themselves. Maze touched on there. We're probably going to be playing counter attack. We're not going to have much of the ball. Maybe that long ball is on, and you're looking at Galton and Hansen and Russo then that can stretch, the lines hopefully a bit. But yeah, it's all the C's really. Control, compact, composure. It's just need to make sure we're all of those things, and hopefully the players are. I think they have learned from Chelsea. If I'm being totally honest, I think we haven't really seen that since, but we haven't really been tested like we were against Chelsea. So yeah, it's going to be a long old afternoon, but we can beat them. There's this group of players it's a quality group of players. So we shouldn't underestimate our own talent. So it's. Just need to make sure, like I said, we're still in the game after 50, 60 minutes.
I think we all got a lot of confidence players, and I think a win has. I mean, we haven't touched on it because it's been on social media a little bit, but it wasn't obviously seen in the game for those that went there. When Skinner came over to clap the fans, which he normally does, he also sort of went like that. and that's and that's fantastic to see from a manager. And I think it was a relief to him as well that he got the win. I think he knows he's still going to keep his feet to the fire, but he wouldn't want it any other way. And that's what it means to be a Man United manager, I think. Namrata, what's your views on Arsenal to finish?
I think kind of agree with everyone here, and I just want to say that against Chelsea, it wasn't that Chelsea were very good. It was just that we made some mistakes that we shouldn't have, and we gave the ball away really cheaply. I think the defense has improved since then. I think we've also stopped playing out from the back in all situations. Mary Ups doesn't mess about now, just takes the long goal kick. So I think we should do better than the Chelsea match. If it should be enough to get us 3 points or even get a draw, we'll have to see that. But I think the confidence is definitely there. And, their manager has been really hyping us up, calling us a high-pressing team, that we're going to be really difficult to break down. So they're definitely coming into this game. I don't know which team they saw when they were doing the whole analysis, but they know that this is an important point, because I haven't watched Arsenal a lot this season, but I've been reading comments from their fans, and it seems like some of the momentum that they had at the start of the season, they're kind of slowing down now. They're probably not giving as good and dominant performances as they had been given at the start of the season. So they know they need to win this match. Otherwise, because they are in a race with Chelsea, who keep on improving every other game. So I think we just need to be well prepared. We need to be just hold our ground and try to avoid as many mistakes as possible. And hopefully Russo and Ona, probably she can score a goal. I don't know what the starting 11 will be. I really hope Lad is back. And I would like VBR to start, Wilder-Barisa to start along with Lad. But I think we're still going to see Zalem and Lad double pivot, and then Tooney at 10. So let's see what's going to happen. But I would have loved it if Tobin Heath was playing this match, because she didn't get to play in front of the United fans. So hopefully she gets to see what the fans are like from the other side.
I think the other side might be slightly different than if she was playing for United. That's the thing, isn't it? But remembering that we're all for United WFC predictions for Sunday. I'll just repeat that: all for United WFC. Connor.
Yeah, I'm not going to. Anthony predicted a loss. I'm not going to do that.
That's why. Yeah. No. I see you on Sunday, mate. I'll give you a slap. You're like, what the hell was that for? Friday night. Go on. What do you want?
Oh, it's so tough, isn't it? Because I can see it going either way. I can see us getting turned over, but I can also see us winning. I can see I can see the tide changing. Skinner will love this. The tide's changing. Positivity after Wednesday, taking it into Sunday. I can't predict a draw or a loss. It's going to have to be United win, but I can't see us keeping a clean sheet, because Arsenal have got a lot going forward. So I'm actually going to say 3-1. A little bit overconfident, but with Russo and Tuna banging form, I'm going to say Golden's going to get on the score sheet as well. Let's get her a goal as well. So yeah, 3-1 for me.
That's better. Good boy, Vix.
Can I say a draw? 1-0 draw.
That'll be all for United WFC.
Right, okay, 2-1, Andy. I give in.
Okay. It's all right. They're going to use me. I'll say the same at the players when they're warming up. Chloe?
I agree with Vix. A 2-1 result for United.
You want to have a go on scorers? And O'Connor had a little go then.
Yeah, probably I'll say Miedema for Arsenal, Tuna, and hopefully maybe goal Leah.
Yeah, Leah would be great to have a goal. I don't think I'll have to say all for United WFC to Namrata. I think you're going to be positive, aren't you? What about you, Namrata?
I think if you're positive, why not go for something like 3-0 or 4-0? I mean, right.
No, John.
I think, I honestly don't know, but if we are going, I would say 2-0.
Okay, cool.
Please.
That'll do. Maisie? Because it's your first game. Your first game can't be a loss. So got to win for that reason. So,
exactly. I've got to obviously see our win at the first time I'm at LSV. So for me, I'm going to also go with a 2-1. I think Tooney and Russo is going to score. And I think maybe Kim Little might score for Arsenal. That'll be interesting.
Well, I suppose I can't back out of it now because I've just bullied you guys into getting a score. Similar to Connor, I think it might be 1-0 United, or it could be quite a heavy score for either side. I think the first time we played them at WSL, when we clearly still had a championship team, kind of championship plus team coming up from the championship, it was under the lights, and I remember that it was 0-0 right until the end, I believe, and then it was 1-0 to Arsenal. So I think if you think of the team we've got now, I know they've got a very strong team. I think 1-0. I think 1-0. And I think whoever scores for United will probably get a chant made for them, like we did with Lithiana when she scored our first goal against Liverpool. Maybe that's that. But yeah, obviously that brings us to the end of the show. We went a bit over because we had a lot to pack in. We had to, tell our friends in blue what the situation was with football, but also pick up Everton and Arsenal. But yeah, kind of just want to mention some of the shows. Is it Ben's show tomorrow?
Yes, sorry, I've got two lots of channels, shows in my idea. Yeah, so on this channel, yeah, Ben and Matt's tomorrow, and obviously all match day content on Sunday, and the match reaction we'll be back on Monday, when hopefully that's going to be after a win. To keep the momentum and the positivity going. So yes, so some good shows coming up. Let's stay tuned, obviously, for the match content on Sunday as well.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, thanks for everyone to be here. This is the passion that you need to talk about football, and we'll happily talk. And as John said there, always a businessman. You must be home from work now, Johnny. Ben and Matt there at 7:30. So as I say, thanks for everybody's time, and hope you enjoyed our little whistle stop for the last 7 days. And let's smash Arsenal.
Come on.